Chinese tech giant Tencent is in talks with Vivendi to buy a 10% stake in Universal Music Group. It's the label behind chart-topping acts like Lady Gaga, Drake, and Taylor Swift. Vivendi shares closed higher in Paris. Let's bring in Paul LaMonica for us. So Tencent actually owns a stake, Paul, in Spotify. It's now getting a stake in Universal. What does it mean for Tencent's ability to compete with, say, Apple Music and other streaming services too?
Yeah, it's a great question, Zane. I think that this deal, if it does in fact go through, will make Tencent a much bigger player in the global music business. Because as you point out, Tencent already has this stake in Spotify, and Spotify has a reciprocal stake in the Tencent music business that's also publicly traded. So that. If this deal gets done, I think you add those great artists that you've already mentioned. You also have the rights to the Beatles and U2 and other artists as well, Ariana Grande. So there's a lot of firepower with these big hit makers that Tencent will now have on a streaming service. And it's interesting because China, streaming is not as big from a, paying for a monthly service as it is in other parts of the world. Whether or not doing this deal, you might get the Chinese consumer to, subscribe more to a monthly plan.
For John Bolton, the firing came via Twitter. As President Trump announced today, he informed his national security advisor his services are no longer needed at the White House. But in a surreal moment 12 minutes later, Bolton denied he was fired, tweeting, "I offered to resign last night, and President Trump said, let's talk tomorrow." Bolton was seen by CNN cameras outside the West Wing this morning, after sources said he got into a bitter disagreement with Trump the night before.
The alternative was the White House, and you wouldn't have been happy with that either.
They argued over the president's decision to host Taliban leaders at Camp David, a meeting Trump later canceled.
John Bolton's priorities and policies just don't line up with the president's.
Bolton's pushback to inviting the Taliban on U.S. soil and allegedly telling reporters about his feelings after may have been the last straw, with one source telling CNN the leaking is what got him. But in recent weeks, Bolton had found himself isolated from the president, iced out by the chief of staff, and barely speaking to the Secretary of State.
There were many times Ambassador Bolton and I disagreed, that's to be sure.
Bolton was scheduled to be at this afternoon's briefing alongside Mike Pompeo and Steven Mnuchin.
The president's view of the Iraq war and Ambassador Bolton's was very different.
But after the president's tweet, a White House official said Bolton is no longer in the building.
I like conflict. I like having two people with different points of view.
Trump once claimed he liked the chaos of a West Wing with multiple opinions, but he grew irritated by Bolton's hardline positions in recent weeks.
I actually temper John, which is pretty amazing.
Carlsbad, New Mexico, where the Pecos River winds its way through the desert and the valley. Stunning and remote. Some restaurants and shops, and one hospital, Carlsbad Medical Center. When you have an emergency in Carlsbad, New Mexico, heart attack, a broken bone, is there any choice about where you go?
No.
How many hospitals are in town?
One.
Patients here are at its mercy, forced to pay whatever it charges. Patients like Donna Hernandez, who manages a local hotel here. Last year, when she had the flu and went to the emergency room, she received a bill for $6,000.
And it was $6,000, 2.5 hours in that hospital.
What did you think when you got a $6,000 bill for 2 hours of care?
I was shocked.
And when patients like Donna can't pay, the hospital will sometimes sue them to collect the money. A CNN investigation of court records shows that in the past 10 years, Carlsbad Medical Center has sued more than 3,000 people to collect debts. Everyone here, Donna, Victoria Pena, Misty Price, and her husband AJ Price, have all been sued by the hospital. Sometimes, as part of the lawsuit, Carlsbad Medical Center takes money right out of their paychecks. It happened to Victoria, a teacher's aide.
Like, why would the hospital do that? You're not just hurting me or making me pay. You're hurting my husband and my kids and our livelihood.
So how many of you have either had your wages garnished or are about to have your wages garnished? Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So they go right into your paycheck
Yes.
and take out
They
the money.
contact your employer and
Yes.
They go straight to your HR
you
department.
can't do anything about it.
Misty was a single mom when she was sued, raising 3 kids. She saved stacks of bills and legal papers from her fight with the hospital.
I had a car repossessed. I almost lost my house. I didn't know how I was going to, support my kids. I mean, it makes you not want to get medical care because, they're going to come after you. And I have insurance. I've had insurance the entire time.
You were working at the time.
3 jobs.
Carlsbad Medical Center says it sues as a last resort. In a statement, the hospital CEO told us, "We sue less than 1% of the patients who receive care at our hospital. Before initiating a collection suit against anyone, we make multiple attempts, usually trying to contact our patients 10 to 12 times to offer manageable payment plans and additional discounts off of already discounted charges. In many cases, patients do not respond to our calls or letters." Most other hospitals in the area make a different choice. Artesia General Hospital, Norlea General Hospital, and Lincoln County Medical Center, over the past 10 years, none of them have sued patients for debt collection. It's not known how many hospitals in the U.S. garnish patients' wages like Carlsbad Medical Center does. A study in one state, Virginia, found that in 2017, 36% of hospitals garnished wages. Dr. Marty McCary, a physician at Johns Hopkins University, is one of the study authors. Tell me about Carlsbad, New Mexico.
This is a wonderful small town of about 28,000, kind of your classic Americana town.
In his new book, The Price We Pay, he has a whole chapter on Carlsbad Medical Center. So we met Misty Price. She's been sued and had her wages garnished. Her husband was sued, her sister was sued, her sister's husband was sued, her best friend was sued, and her best friend's husband was sued.
That's a disgrace. How does one local community hospital create all this terror and financial hardship to so many people? We talked to a lot of people whose lives have really been ruined financially.
But some people might say, look, they incurred the bills, they need to pay their bills.
Look, doctors and hospitals should be paid fairly. I firmly believe that. But oftentimes these patients are being shaken down with the most aggressive and predatory practices we've ever seen in the history of medicine.
In a statement, Carlsbad Medical Center's CEO told us, "Absolutely no patient pays the full price of our services. We provide charity care for anyone who qualifies. For those who struggle to pay their hospital bills, we offer additional discounts and reasonable, extremely low payment plans." Donna, who's uninsured, eventually got one of those discounts. Her bill was cut in half to a little over $3,000. Still steep, she says, for a simple visit for the flu.
It makes me mad. It angers me that you would take advantage of people that are in a situation where they need medical care.
Do you feel like Carlsbad Medical Center is taking advantage of the fact that they're the only game in town?
Big time.
Yeah, definitely. They are going to get every case, every injury, every accident is going to come right here. And I think they prey on that.
After being contacted by CNN, the hospital told us it has a new policy. They'll stop suing patients whose income is below a certain level. For example, if a patient is single, the hospital won't sue if they earn less than about $19,000. But for many other patients, the lawsuits will continue, leaving them here at the Eddy County Courthouse. This hospital has a big law firm working for it. Do you have lawyers working for you?
No.
No. Could you afford to hire lawyers to work for you?
No.
Without legal help, patients often lose these lawsuits from Carlsbad Medical Center, putting them in good company with so many others living in this valley. Elizabeth Cohen, CNN, Carlsbad, New Mexico.